Alright, YouTube. Rounding 2 months ahead, I would have been 5 when 9/11 happened, which means that rounding myself to 20 years old, because I'll be 20 in less than 2 months, just barely less than 2 months, I will have spent 3/4 of my life in the post-9/11 era. Now, I remember in middle school and high school, the teachers, usually history teachers, sometimes a psychology teacher might ask, or someone who was just really into history, they'd ask the students, where were you when 9/11 happened? Or what was your family doing? Or do you remember it? And of course, I was the only one in every single class who did not remember whatever they were doing on 9/11. Because, and let me get to this part first, most of the kids would answer, oh, I remember watching at it and thinking it was so awesome because I thought it was a trailer to an action movie. That was usually the first and the main response the teacher would get. They would get to me and I'd say, I don't know. And they'd ask, well, what do you mean? I said, I don't remember 9/11 because I didn't learn that it happened until I was about 8 years old in second grade. And for some reason, I get a lot of dirty stares. And I could never understand why. As if a 5-year-old is supposed to remember intimate knowledge like this on such a crystal clear level to make it seem that you're worldly. I don't understand this fake expectation that, a 5-year-old's supposed to be worldly and remember events like this. No, I mean, I wasn't even the average kid at the get-go. I would imagine that a lot of the kids that remember it, probably a lot of their childhood was consumed by television. Now, I'm not saying mine wasn't, but it was always due to documentaries. My favorite show, not a documentary, but my favorite show was the crocodile hunter Steve Irwin, or Jeff Corwin. And I remember, and the passion still is with me today for nature, and I still go out and do this. I'll go out and forage for plants, but I'll also go out and look for snakes or amphibians or insects, just anything I can find. I have pictures that my uncle took of me from probably 2002 where I was looking at a Luna moth I just trapped in his backyard before he moved down to the southern part of the state. And I just, I don't have any memories about 9/11. I couldn't even tell you what I was doing on September 11th, 2001. If anything, like I said, I was probably in the backyard looking for bugs or destroying anthills. But what I can tell you is, even though it didn't really have a profound impact on me because I didn't know what it was, I would later be able to piece all of this together. Now, I could never understand as a younger kid why people disliked people that wore turbans. Video games, like I said, PS2 was still a thing. I remember Fugitive Hunter. There was this game where you walked around hunting, basically, CIA most wanted list of people, and a few other war games where you would just go around shooting the hell out of Al-Qaeda and just basically anyone with a turban. And every weekend I'd spend the night at my grandpa Ray's house, rest in peace. He died in 2007. And I finally asked him, I was like, Grandpa, why do people hate people with turbans so much? At this point, I hadn't really discovered what Islam was. I just knew, Christianity was a thing. And yeah, that's religion. So he kind of explained it. I didn't understand. He was trying to explain to me a whole religion, but I did understand, he showed me some books. He was a really big history buff. I have several Civil War books because of him. He collected a lot of Civil War memorabilia. So I have like Confederate outfits and like Union caps and belt buckles and patches. So. But he explained it to me and it finally clicked together. And at that point, there's two things running through my mind. Like, well, why do people hate people with turbans so much? Because of the actions of a few. And why would these people allow themselves to be so controlled by religion that they flew into buildings with airplanes? And this was before, I had the suspicion of Saudi involvement, and this was the time George Bush Jr. was making an ass out of himself on live television all the time. But what I can tell you is the impact it's had on my adult life. And basically my teenage life, and I think there was two defining moments when I was alive that really shaped society the way it is today. I'd say the first event is Columbine, the Columbine massacre, and I'd say the second event is 9/11. And I think these two events, while previous generations I noticed they're more trusting of one another, our generation has been taught by the paranoid nutcases of their generation and the people who bought into the fear game and all this. And I just see how the older generations, they don't, they might not like one another, but they trust one another. They think the others have good intentions. And my generation, we kind of act like reptilian-brained creatures that kind of live solitarily in their little hideouts and are very suspicious of others. I mean, I even know in high school groups of friends that were totally based on the fear of one another, and it completely took me by surprise. I just could not understand the lack of trust, and just every little thing someone said, if the school caught wind of it, they'd pat someone down. Or they just, security was taken, and just the whole principle, the whole concept of trust is completely absent today. Not only do we have to do that, but don't you guys remember not to give out your full name or any of your personal information out on the internet? Well, now, I guess because Google says so, you should, because now they're asking for your street address. Facebook's asking for this very personal information for no reason whatsoever, and it's to the point where I'm going to delete my current Facebook and make a new one later this month, and basically put the privacy settings on ultra. And put as little information as possible short of my name and where I graduated and what my birthday is. There's also that, we have to live with the Patriot Act and people spying on us, and it's just seems to be getting shittier. I live in a generation where wars are just, this thing. They don't have to be constitutionally engaged or acted upon. You can just, at any time you want, say, fuck this little nation, we're gonna attack it. And I don't think people really understand. I think this past era we went through, and I think if Donald Trump gets reelected, if Donald Trump gets elected, we're going to be exiting the 9/11 era. I think if Donald Trump gets elected, we're going to be entering some type of Reconstruction era. Not to be confused with post-Civil War, but something that really mops up the mess that the event of 9/11 brought. And I don't think some of these SJWs or neoliberals really understand that it's because of these events that we're fed up with the type of career politicians that just kind of say, oh, we'll do something, and then, well, the NSA is still watching us. Oh, you told us you were going to release the 9/11 pages, and you only released a handful of them, and you're just making us pay for subpar health care. My health care cost is going up to high hell. And you wonder why people are looking up in the world to people like Nigel Farage or Donald Trump or one of these other alt-right or neocon leaders. So I think with that you'll see a new nationalist era in world politics, and that doesn't necessarily mean, Nazism or anything nearly approaching that, but just people who are more concerned about their country, want to stay out of conflict, and just want to look out for the welfare of their own people. So if Donald Trump gets elected, I would watch out for that. If Hillary Clinton gets elected, you're stuck with the same globalist 9/11 or post 9/11 bullshit you've been being spoon-fed since 2000, really. And that's about it, YouTube. Peace out.